All right. Hi, everyone. This is Pete here. So I want to make a very quick but super important announcement to you guys. And because you guys have been messaging me about this whole US, Hong Kong delisting thing, right? About China stocks delisting in US. Okay, so I just want to address everyone out there who have doubts about what's happening. And I want to give you some facts. All right. And I've spoken to some of my friends who are in the fund management side in the US and both in China as well, in Hong Kong as well. And I just want to share with you guys some of the things that I've discovered. Okay, so I'm just going to wait a little bit more while people are trickling in. So the good thing is this, all right, we are doing live right now in both the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. So we are reaching to a larger audience. So if you have any questions, just put in the comments, okay? Just put in the comments, right? Okay, so just want to make sure everyone can hear me. If you can hear me, right, can you just type it in, tell me where you're from, all right? Just tell me where you're from. Are you from Singapore, where I am? Or are you from Malaysia or Hong Kong or US? Okay, so just type it in, all right? So let's get started, all right? Just want to see everyone can hear me, right? So welcome in, okay? Say hi to a few people. William is here. Hi, William. David, hi, David. Louis as well, okay? Any more? Kevin is here as well. Ming Chun is here. Everyone's here. Hi. Henry is here. Hi. Okay. So guys, now I want to say that the last week has been like crazy, right? All right. We had Donald Trump talking about Singapore. Sorry, not Singapore. US. Talking about China stocks. All right. They're gonna be delisted from the US, and right now, at this very moment, even right, we are seeing a lot of protests in the US. All right, so it's a very unpredictable period. A lot of things are happening. So the important thing is I want you guys to really be equipped with the knowledge, and most importantly is this, right? When you have a lot of information in the world, right, that's going on, please do make sure you sit down, think through it properly before you act. Okay, all right. So guys, can you all help everyone here type it in, or to share with everybody? Please type in think before you act. That's super important. All right, everybody just type it in the comments. Help everyone out there, right? Think before you act, because a lot of people, what happens is when the news first came out, they just panic, right? They just panic and they just want to immediately do something that's very knee-jerk, that's very reactive, and more than often that is not helpful. That is not helpful. Okay, so guys, do type in the comments, think before you act. That is so important, not just in the stock market, in everything you do. All right, especially right now when the situation is very uncertain. We have COVID-19, we have lockdown, and you know, Singapore right now, I'm in Singapore right now. Next week we're gonna have a unlock, sort of, right? Start to revert back to normal, and things are gonna get a bit strange, right? Because nobody knows what's gonna happen when we're gonna go into the unlock situation. Okay, and right now in the US, they kind of unlock themselves, right? Almost everyone is out and about protesting, and the thing is this: how does this affect your portfolios? How does this affect your investment? So as an investor, you're allocating your own money. You are a portfolio manager. You must think before you act. Okay, think before you act. Plan your investment route, right? Plan what you're going to do. Okay, so let me just share very quickly today what I wanted to share with you guys. Let me bring it up. Okay, and of course is none other than these two gentlemen, right? So you can see Donald Trump is not very happy there, right? He's not pleased at all to be there. I can't remember when was this picture taken, but you know, it was one of the rare photos where actually Donald Trump and Xi Jinping were at the same picture. And the question is, why can't they be friends? Okay, so what did Donald Trump say about the whole US delisting Chinese stocks, right? What exactly is it? All right, what's going to happen? What are the nooks and crannies? Okay, but before that, let me just give a very quick disclaimer, right, to make sure that every one of you understand, right? These are my personal opinions. Okay, these are my personal opinions. They are not investment advice. Please always do your own homework. Don't just copy others, right? The most important thing is you want to be an independent investor. You want to be thinking on your own and not just copy someone else's trades or copy someone else's thoughts or blindly. Right? It is never a bad idea to look for ideas, but always do your own due diligence. Okay, so I just want to share today solely is for education purpose. Now, with that out of the way, let's go into US delisting Chinese stocks. All right, in the meantime, if you have any questions, right, do put in the comments, right? I'll go through them at the end, okay? So just want to make sure everyone can see my screen. If you can see my screen, can you type in yes? All right, if you can see my screen, can you type in yes? All right, Okay, so we're doing live right now from Singapore. Okay, so what's going on? Okay, so I'll talk about what's happening, right, and what is likely to happen. Okay, what is likely to happen, and of course, why is US doing this, and what you can possibly do as an investor. Okay, so first thing is this: what's actually happening, right? So what's up with Trump? So there's a lot of news out there that talks like this. Okay, so I want to really emphasize to you guys, right? News outlets, okay, or those like so-called gurus out there, right? They always want to exaggerate the whole situation, right? Because the main thing is they want your attention, they want your eyeball on their news. So they will give you very dramatic words like, oh, it's gonna be forced. Chinese stars are going to be forced from the United States, for example. All right, or is that here comes the crackdown on China stocks. Okay, so guys, I want you to kind of start to learn how to read the news. In fact, to be very honest, these days I hardly read the news outlet. I only read news that are relevant to me. All right, that I'm interested in. I don't read any random news out there because I know that these things will affect my mind. Okay, so you need to be very selective with what you read. All right, filter what you read, filter your news. Okay, so guys, can you type it in the comments? Make sure you understand this. Filter your news. That is so important. Okay, so these kind of headlines doesn't tell you anything. So what exactly is happening? What exactly is going on? Okay, so basically, this two paragraph pretty much summarizes everything. Okay, so they're gonna go for a passing of act. I believe this will pass quite swiftly, to be very honest, right? Because it already passed the U.S. Senate unanimously, means no one rejected it, right? Nobody rejected it at all at the Senate. And I think that's quite rare. So I believe going to the House of Reps, going to the Congress, likely is going to be passed very soon, and then Donald Trump is going to sign it in law. Okay. So what exactly is this law called the Holding Foreign Companies Accountable Act? Right? It's not the most creative name out there, huh? Okay. So I'm just going to call it what they call it. Right? They call it the HIFCA. HIFCA is the act name. All right. So what is it? What exactly is HIFCA? HIFCA is basically making sure, right, all the companies that are listed in the US Stock Exchange goes through an audit process by this body in the US called the PCAOB. All right. And if you're non-compliant, all right, this is very important, guys. This is very important. If you're non-compliant, you could be delisted after 3 years. Okay. So guys, can you tell me if this were to happen and were to go through, right, even without us digging any deeper, how long is the time frame before this is enacted? How long would it take before the companies actually delisted from the US Stock Exchange? How long would it be? Can you type in the comments? How long would it be? Okay. All right. How long would it be before the Chinese stocks actually properly get listed? Okay. And over here, it already tells you it's going to be 3 years. Okay. Now, I read the actual bill itself, the part that's relevant, but it's too long to share here. But this is basically what's happening. Okay. Now, so the thing is this law anything new? And the answer is no. Okay. Because currently, the US already applied the same criteria to all the firms that are already listed in the US Stock Exchange. Okay, and this PCAOB, right, is already using this same criteria. The only difference is this: right now, the Chinese companies are not abiding by this rule. Okay, so far they have not been abiding by this rule because technically they are not a US company, right? They are a Chinese company listed in the US. So through some strange route, they are not required to do the same thing. So exactly what this law is asking them to do is to, hey, just comply to the same regulations that everyone is complying to. Okay, so it's nothing extra. It's not like Donald Trump trying to do something very hard on the Chinese stocks or the Chinese company. No, he's just making sure that the Chinese companies are doing the same. Okay, so how many of them are in the US stock market now? I didn't go and search for the exact figure, but it ranged between 150 to 165. Okay, depending on your definition. Okay, so about 150 to 165 of them who are headquartered or operating principally in China is going to be affected in this case. Okay, all right. So, but this thing does sound a bit familiar. Why? Because it was actually brought up way back last year in September, and this was already mentioned before. They tried to do it, and in the end, it didn't come to pass. Okay, so do not be surprised. A lot of you are very surprised that this actually happened because this is actually not new. Okay, this is actually not new. Can everyone type in the comments? This is actually not new. Okay, not new, not new. All right. Wow, Yoksan is very detailed. Yoksan even give you the number of days, guys. Okay. All right. So this is not new. So don't be so surprised. It has been talked about before already. All right. So the thing is this: we already know what we know what the law is saying. The law is basically saying that companies who don't comply to this likely will get delisted in 3 years. Okay. And very much this was triggered again, right, because of the Luckin Coffee scandal. Right. For those of you who don't know Luckin Coffee, basically it's a Chinese Starbucks-like kind of coffee. They had a very big fraud. They kind of fabricated millions and millions of revenue. Okay, so that was very unacceptable to the Nasdaq, and the share price rightfully dropped, all right, over 90% in a short period of time. And that triggered this whole discussion about Chinese company complying to the same laws again. Okay, but the thing is this: will the companies comply to the law? All right, what is likely to happen? Okay, so my personal opinion, all right, this is my own personal opinion, that state-owned companies in China may not want to comply with the new requirement. Okay, they may not want to comply with the new requirement. Why? Because if it's a state-owned company, or they call it SOE, state-owned enterprise, it's very likely that these companies may have some secrets or some information that the Chinese government don't want to be released out there in the public through this audit. Okay, there are reasons for this kind of thing, right? There are national security issues. So I think state-owned enterprise may not want to comply with this. So these might be real issues for them. Okay, this might be a real issue for them. But however, I think most privately owned Chinese company will likely want to comply with them. Okay, and in fact, they are already doing so. Some of them are already doing so. Okay, so why is that? Why is that the case? Because it is likely going to strengthen their position as a Chinese company. Okay, and with improved financial credibility of this Chinese company, right? I think it will actually lead to a better stock price. Now, let me explain this. In the US, right, a lot of people do not want to invest in Chinese companies because they were afraid of fraud. They don't know what the accounting system is going to be like. They can't trust the Chinese companies. And therefore, when you look at the US, there's actually a discount in valuation. Okay? All right? There's a valuation gap between Chinese companies and like-for-like US companies. Let me give you an example, right? One is Alibaba. Alibaba now currently trades at a price to earnings about 26 times. Okay? And who is the equivalent to Alibaba in US? Right? Who does e-commerce? Who does cloud? Make a guess, right? And it starts with A as well, and it's Amazon. Okay, so Amazon right now, the PE ratio is a whopping 116 times as compared to Alibaba, which is 26 times. Okay, so right now there's a huge valuation gap between a Chinese company and a US company, even though they are doing pretty much the same thing. And this is very likely because in the US, many investors, including institutional, they may not be investing in Alibaba or any Chinese company right now, okay, because they don't think that they are very credible in terms of the disclosures. So I think this is actually something that is good for the private Chinese companies, okay? Now, the next thing is this. For example, Alibaba already talked about this in their recent earnings call, okay? So this is directly from their CFO, Maggie Wu, I think her name is Wu, all right? And she talked about this. She said, Alibaba has been prepared, financial statements are prepared in accordance with the US GAAP, all right? This is the US generally accepted accepted accounting practices, okay? This is the requirement for the government, okay? Since the inception in 1999, okay? And they have been audited by well-known firms, PwC, all right? And they have abided by the PwC National Office standard in the US. Okay? And they have been filing their SEC report since 2014. Okay? And in Alibaba's case, they even talk about, given the above, we would endeavor, they want to comply with any legislation, all right, to bring transparency and protect investors who buy securities in the US stock exchange. Okay? So I do believe, for example, in Alibaba's case, they are already complying, right? They are already complying. I think even if they are not at the exact standard, it wouldn't take them too much effort to reach there because they are already audited by not a third or second tier auditing firm. This is PwC, guys. This is PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, right? This is one of the big four companies auditing Alibaba. Okay, so my take is this shouldn't be a big problem for them, right? So another thing I want to share with you guys is what is likely to happen is that you must take a look, right, at who are the major shareholders of these companies. For example, right now I have here Alibaba and JD. Okay, and you can see that majority of their top 10 investors are all US funds, are all US management companies, fund management company, asset management companies. Okay, so I mean, other than this one, right? This is Singapore, right? This is domestic holdings in Alibaba. But otherwise, pretty much all of them are US listed or not listed, but US fund management company. Okay, so I believe there will be a very strong protest, right, from the US shareholders and all these fund houses should then be forced to sell the shares of these companies because of the delisting. Okay, so that's also one thing that I postulate that, you know, given Donald Trump is so pro-business and he's rubbing shoulders with all these people, all right, so these people might have some influence on it. Okay, all right. And the key thing is, ever since Donald Trump talked about it, I have not seen them massively selling Alibaba and JD in that case. All right, so I think in a sense it is still pretty okay. All right, it's still pretty good news. Okay, now the next thing is this: you must understand why possibly Trump is doing this. Right, possibly why. Okay, and the important thing is this: what is this year for US? Can y'all put it down? What is the year for the US? What is the year? What is the year? Guys, what is the year? This is the US election year. Okay, this is the US election year. On the 3rd of November, we're going to have the US election. So it is very traditional, right? Almost to the point of being routine that candidates during election year would likely do something dramatic. Okay, and for Trump, it's very simple. It has always been his narrative to kind of like, you know, show himself as the one that's fighting against China, and that can win him a lot of votes. All right, there are a huge group of people in the US that will vote for him just because of this. So it is very likely, possibly, right, he's doing for the US election to show off strength as a president. Okay, and what's another thing? Another thing is this: right now, all right, for the administration, their focus is to make sure that the US stock market do not come crashing down. Okay, we have seen it recover really fast in the last 3 weeks. That's great news, but he wants to make sure that the companies continue to appreciate in value. The stock price continues to go up. Okay, and one way is to shake the market and say, hey guys, if you have money locked up in all these Chinese companies, I'm going to delist them and I want you to revert your cash, redeploy your cash into these US companies. All right. These are your S&P 500 components. These are the companies in your S&P 500. Okay. As of right now, Alibaba, JD, PDD, all the Chinese companies that are listed in the US, they are not in the S&P 500. So should their share price go up, it does not benefit the S&P market. Okay. So in a way, when I talk to my friends in the US, they say this is possibly one reason why Donald Trump is doing it, because there's no point if Alibaba share price raised to $400, okay, the S&P 500 won't move. And Donald Trump has always been trumpeting how much the S&P 500 has been increasing. Okay, you guys get it? All right, you guys get it? So it's to redeploy cash. Imagine now everybody who invested in all these Chinese companies has to sell out and buy into these US companies. What would happen to the share price of these US companies? Okay, all right, think about it that way. All right. So now that we know what is going on, why they do it possibly, I want you to think about what can possibly happen. Think of the different scenarios. Okay, think of the different scenarios. This is very important to help you to think about what you need to do. Okay, so think of the possible scenarios. Type it in, guys. Type it in. Help everyone. Possible scenarios. Okay, so the first thing is this: different choices you can do. Right. So it's roughly about 3 years before it even get listed or should something happen. Right. So one thing is this: investors, should this happen, right? Investors may be able to convert your US shares into Hong Kong shares. Okay, all right, and this has happened before with the past Chinese companies delisting from the US and then relisting in Hong Kong again. Okay, this is possible. Okay, especially those already with dual listing. For example, Tencent, for example, Alibaba. They already have dual listing. They are both listed in US and Hong Kong. This is one of the possible things that can happen. The second thing, if it's a single listing, for example, right now JD only lists in the US. Okay, what can happen during the delisting is that investors actually will receive cash. Okay, for your shares, roughly for the valuation that is in line of the company if it were to be valuated in Hong Kong. All right, this is likely what's going to happen. Usually, it's going to be a valuation plus a premium. Okay, for your shares. Okay, this is possibly what can happen. But some investors say, hey, Pete, what if I'm still worried? Okay, hey guys, how many of y'all are actually worried about the situation? Can you all type in the comments? If you're worried, type in worried. If you're worried, type in worried. Okay, don't be ashamed to say that you are worried about situation. It is absolutely normal. All right. Now, if you're really worried and you don't want to be in this situation, you don't want to live with the possibilities of all these things happening. Okay, very simply, what you can do is this. Okay, if your company, for example, in this case, Tencent or Alibaba, are already dually listed in the US and Hong Kong, you can actually sell all your US shares, all right, and then buy them back in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange if you want to. Okay, so you are totally removing yourself from the situation. Okay, all right. The next thing is this. Actually, for JD, just now I mentioned they are only singly listed, all right, even NetEase. They are actually looking to list in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange as early as next month, guys. As early as next month. Okay, so if you always wanted to invest in this company, the easiest thing to do is to not even look at the US shares, just purchase directly from the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Okay, so if you're still worried, these are the possible things you can do, then you totally remove this risk from your equation. All right, okay. So last but not least, I just want to share with you guys, for the big companies right now, Alibaba and Tencent are already in this Hong Kong Stock Exchange. In fact, for Tencent, actually Hong Kong Stock Exchange is their main listing. The US is actually a secondary OTC listing. Okay. Okay, so very quickly, within the last 20 minutes, I go through all the things that I talk about with my fund management friends, both in the US and the Hong Kong, and got a very good sensing about what's going to happen. And I share with you guys what are the possibilities. Now I want you guys to take the time to reflect. All right, just take the time to reflect. Ask yourself a few questions. First thing is this: what have you learned? All right, what have you learned from this whole sharing? Okay, guys, I want you to type in the comments just one important thing that you have learned. Okay, so right now I want you to type for yourself. All right, not for anyone, but really for yourself. Type in the comments what exactly you have learned from this sharing. That is going to help you. Okay, and then the next thing is this: after knowing what you have learned, I want you to also type in what are you going to do. Okay, right now, take a few seconds, type in the comments what you have learned, a quick sentence, and then the next sentence, type in what are you going to do. If you are already invested in Chinese companies in the US, what are you going to do? Okay, do that right now. Do that right now. Okay, there's no right and wrong, to be very honest. All right, there's no right and wrong, but I want you to have a plan. All right, remember, think before you act. So this is the time I reserve for you to think. All right, so now think and then write it down. Okay. All right, so some of you are saying read, understand, act. William talked about position sizing. Thomas said never trust the news. All right, Nicholas talked about never reacting to the news. Okay, Winston said read the news, watch the news carefully and properly. Cherry is talking about don't look at the news, don't listen to the news, do your own research. Very good. Okay, all right. Okay, cool. Okay, very good. So do keep that coming in. All right, I want you guys to really take the time right now. Hey, what have I learned? There's no point attending live events after live events like this, sharing after sharing by myself or other people, but you actually don't crystallize your thoughts. That is going to waste your time. Okay, don't do that. Okay, all right. Now, so the next thing is, you can tag me over there. All right, tag Invest with Pete, so that will help me to in the future. For those of you who are doing this after the live session, you want to tag Invest with Pete in the comments so that the system will alert me to read your comments, okay? And then I can reply to you if you have questions, okay? Now, last thing is this. I know many people are not watching this video, all right? So if you know of anybody who can really benefit from this video, I want you to share it with them, all right? Because this is something that is truly important. I've seen so many people in the last couple of days when Donald Trump say, hey, you know, we're going to do this delisting thing to the Chinese stocks, and then they just dump the shares. And they dump their shares, they close their options position at one of the worst time because the Chinese stock market has been walloped by the US market for a while. Okay? And on Friday, what happened? Actually, the share price recovered a fair bit. Okay, so we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But the key thing is this: if you don't sit down and think before you act, you're going to react very knee-jerk. Okay, you're going to make mistakes. Okay, so guys, if you know of anyone who needs this video, please share with them, or they can just share the group with them, and then they can join the Invest with Pete group where they can really listen to all this sharing that we have. Okay, because together as a community, I want to make sure you guys understand, firstly, why is investing important, but also how to invest better. Okay, cool? All right, so right now, let me just take any questions. If you guys have any, let me think. Let me see. Yep, so Prima is saying, analyze the news, position size, very important. Okay, all right. Don't sell when you're afraid. Very, very good. Very, very good. Okay. So yeah, so if you find all these useful and you think that this is something that someone can benefit, do share with them. Okay, do share with them. All right. Any questions? Let me see. Okay. So some of you are asking. So what would happen to the options? Okay. So what will happen to the options now? I've asked my friend who are in the fund management side. They are not very sure what will happen to the options. To be very clear. Okay, they are not very sure. So if you're going to have a very complicated option strategy, I suggest you don't do that, right? But for example, if you have a short-term options that's going to expire in the next 1 month or two, I don't know. Like for me, I have short-term positions that for the next 1 month or two, I don't think I will do anything for now, right? Because once again, this thing's going to take 3 years. Okay, so not really a problem. And if I have long-term option position, yeah, maybe I will consider closing them and then bringing it to the Hong Kong market. All right, the Hong Kong market has options as well. You can do the same thing in the Hong Kong market. Okay, all right. Don't panic, but reduce exposure to Chinese stocks. Yeah, some of you all say that very, very good. All right. Austin is talking about being rational, logical, but not emotional. Right, very important. Right, think independently. Exactly. All right. Okay. So let me see. Any more questions? All right. Some of you all even mentioned that you will add on to Alibaba if the share price drops. So really, there is no right and wrong situation here, right? You can do either, right? Just make sure that it is part of your plan, and it's not something that you do out of knee-jerk, out of impulse. A lot of people out there, especially a lot of the investing guru out there, they keep on playing with your emotion, right? Tell you that, oh, you're gonna make a lot of money tomorrow, right? That's not how the stock market works, all right? That's not how the stock market works. So if you're gullible enough to believe that right now, I hope you truly learn your lesson, okay? All right. So actually, that's all I have for you guys today. I'll just make sure this is a very, very short sharing. Let me answer just one last question, right? Okay. What's the question? Okay. How do you invest in the Hong Kong stock market? Very simple. You can either go directly to the Hong Kong brokers, or actually what I do is I use Interactive Broker. Okay. I'm just going to type it in for you guys. I use this thing called Interactive Broker. Okay. And you can actually pretty much invest in the global market through this broker. Okay. So yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. I have multiple accounts. All right, this is one of the accounts that I have. Okay. All right. Okay. So some of you are asking, right, the recent riot, how is it going to affect the market? Okay, how is it going to affect the market? To be very honest, I don't think it will affect the market that much. This is pretty much a political problem because I don't see it as the people rioting against the government. It was more of a protest against how the police treated the African American, right? Which was a very unfortunate incident. I don't think it should have happened in the first place. But once again, it is not the people against the government like what we saw in Hong Kong, right? So Hong Kong right now is a bit unstable because that is really a people versus the government. But in US, I don't see as the case. I was just talking to my friend in US, and they're saying, yeah, people are upset, but people are not going crazy yet, right? So it's very fluid right now. But for me, I don't look at that as how it will affect the market, because we have seen protests coming up and then going away, and then the market still continues. All right. So if you're investing like you should, that shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Thanks for the question. All right. That's all. Okay. So that's it. Okay. So guys, hope you guys loved the session. If you learn something today, all right, type in the comments what you have learned. Once again, what are you going to do? Okay. And for those of you who are watching this after the live, do tag Invest with Pete. That will allow me to go to your comments more quickly. And then if you have any questions, I can answer them. All right. So I hope you guys loved the session. It's been half an hour. I don't want to keep this too long. And I will see you at the next video. All right. So please stay safe. Now we are just about to reopen. Stay safe. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye.